Hi, my name is Bryndís and this is my YouTube channel. It's brand new. This is my first video, and in today's video I'm going to do the newbie Booktube tag just to kind of introduce myself a little bit and tell me a little bit about why I love to read and what I read and everything that is asked about in the tag. The first question in the tag is, why did you start this channel? And I started this channel because I am finding myself completely and totally obsessed with books and like reading and listening to audiobooks. It's like it has become my number one hobby, and I have this deep passion for it. And like I'm constantly thinking about what it is that I'm reading and what I might read next, and like looking forward to what I haven't read, thinking about something that I may want to read again, and it's just like I'm obsessed completely. And there aren't really that many people in my real life who are reading the same that I'm reading. I mean, a lot of people around me are reading quite a lot, but they're not necessarily reading the same type of books that I do. So I just need to talk to someone about it. So that's why I decided to start this channel, so that I can have this outlet and a place where I can just talk about books, and hopefully become a part of a lovely book loving community here on YouTube, in the Booktube community. So that's kind of why I started it. I love to talk, and so this is just the most fantastic outlet, having a YouTube channel where you can just talk about books. I mean, it just sounds absolutely perfect to me. Question number 2 is, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? This is a really difficult question, and I really had to think about it quite a lot when I was kind of preparing my answers. And I don't necessarily think that I'm bringing anything super unique. I guess what I want to do, all I can do is bring my myself and my opinions and my kind of experiences, which is obviously unique to me. But I also like, I read a very wide range of books and genres. I like to read, and I can just, I have a taste for almost every type of book, almost. And I suppose also my background a little bit is probably a little bit unique to Booktube. But yeah, so my reading taste is all over the place. I can read these really violent, horrible serial killer thrillers. I can read like horror books and like ghostly books, ghostly stories, like scary books, fantasy, high fantasy, or kind of real world fantasy with like vampires, sci-fi, or at least some sci-fi. I'm not a fan of necessarily all type of sci-fi, but some of them I really enjoy. But I also like really serious literary fictions and kind of classics, mythology retellings, historical novels. Like, I have a very broad range of interests of what I like to read. And also I like to read non-fiction. I read quite a lot of history. I'm not educated within history, but I love it. If in a different life or parallel universe, I'm a historian for sure. I really love to read and learn about different historical people and events and stuff like that. But so I really love to read these kind of historical biographies of people who have been like big in the last few thousand years even, or at least. But I really love history. But yeah, so that's kind of like I said, I like to read a wide range of genres plus non-fiction. I don't necessarily read like self-improvement, self-help type of books, but I do like to read biographies of people that are kind of famous, as well as about past things that have happened. But I guess also maybe another unique thing about my channel is the fact that I am Icelandic. So I don't really know any other people here on Booktube. I haven't found, at least I've been looking, I haven't found any other Icelandic people here on Booktube. If you do know of any, please leave it in the comments below. So I might be talking a little bit about Icelandic literature as well, and maybe some Nordic literature as well. But yeah, I guess that's kind of my niche, I suppose. My background and my very wide taste in what I read. Question 3 is, what are you most excited for about this new channel? So I am very excited about just being able to talk about books, because that's what I really miss being able to do in real life. And hopefully get to know other booktubers through comments and watching other people talk about books. I already watched quite a lot of booktube content, and yeah, so I guess I just hope to find new people to watch and connect with and learn maybe about new books and diversify my reading maybe. And yeah, I think that's what I'm most excited about. But just talking, I can talk forever about stuff. So just knowing that I'm now going to be able to do that about books, oh, I'm so excited. Question 4, why do you love reading? Well, I don't know. I think there are, so as I was thinking about this question, I think there are 2 main reasons for why I've fallen so deeply in love with reading. Now, first is just escapism, right? It's just being able to get completely lost in a story that really like engages my thinking, my emotions and feelings, and just everything. I just love that. And I've read some books in the past that just completely make me forget about the real world and it's wonderful, just wonderful, this escapism. But the second reason, I think, is also just in my life, I need to have active strategies to relax and de-stress. I work in academia, which can be very stressful and challenging at times. So really just sitting down with a book, getting lost in a story, it's just such a good relaxation for me, both for my brain and my body. This gives them this very well-needed rest, because I sometimes tend to forget to kind of rest and relax and recharge, because my life is quite busy. And I also just like to listen to books when I go for walks. Even if I'm going for like a slow run, I would sometimes listen to a book rather than music. And yeah, so I just, if I'm going for hikes, sometimes you just want to listen to nature, but sometimes I like to put on a book while I'm hiking. Or even if I'm just doing the dishes, or like cleaning my apartment, or playing solitaire or Tetris on my phone, or puzzling, like doing a puzzle or whatever. It's always so nice to have a good story in your ears when you are doing stuff. So that gives me a lot of joy as well. So that's kind of why I love to read. The escapism and just the relaxation and de-stressing nature of reading. Question 5 is, what book or series got you into reading? I have a horrible memory, so I had to really think about books that I really enjoyed reading as a child, but it was definitely the books by Enid Blyton, like the famous 5, the Secret 7, the adventure books. And I know that today her writing is maybe a somewhat problematic, but you know, in today's kind of world. But back then in the 80s, I really loved those books. And my favorite was always George. I think it was in this Adventure Island, adventure books rather than the famous five. But George was a girl who behaved like a boy, and that spoke to my heart. I was really not wanting to be a girl at a certain age. And yeah, definitely saw myself in her a little bit. Then when I came into like my teen years, I actually really loved to read spy books. And I think I may have read all or at least most of the books by Alistair MacLean. And I absolutely loved them. Like spies, like Cold War type of spies. Yeah, crazy things. But that's what I used to read as a kid. And I think what may have kind of got me also a lot into reading as well when I was a teenager were actually these fantasy series by a Norwegian author called Margit Sandemo. The books are called The Legend of the Ice People. There are 32 of them, and they were first published in the early 80s. And I just like ate these books up. I think I've read them both in Icelandic translation as well in the original Norwegian, and I think I've read probably each book 15 times, 20 times. Like I've read them until they were like falling apart, the physical books. So those books were really they really engaged my imagination. But then I feel that I kind of fell out of reading during my 20s and 30s, except for like my early 20s. I did an undergraduate degree at university in English, so I did read quite a lot of English and American literature, classics and stuff like that, as well as some early modern, Shakespeare and who I can't really even remember any of the other famous authors back in the day. But yeah, so I read a lot of that. But then I kind of stopped reading, and it wasn't really until my early 40s, in like 2018, when I discovered reading again through audiobooks. And I haven't really looked back since. Since 2018, I've just been crazy reading. And the series that got me into reading, or got me back into reading in 2018, I don't really want to talk about that series or that author because of her kind of hate talk towards certain people, but the books were narrated by Stephen Fry, and his narration captivated me. I have since listened to all the books that I have access to that he has narrated, both books by other authors as well as his own books, and he is just magnificent at narrating. And when people say that listening to audiobooks isn't the same as reading a book, listen to an audiobook narrated by Stephen Fry. It is perfection. It's perfection. And this sparked my kind of rejuvenated my love of books. And of course I discovered genius that is audiobooks. And the majority of the books that I read are through audiobooks. And I don't know, it just awakened this reading monster in me, and now I just can't get enough. Question 6 is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktuber? Okay, I guess I would just ask them, like, what is your favorite book and why? Like, what is it about that book or those books that captivates them and makes it their favorite? And I would really like to talk also with them about, what they think is what makes a good plot or a good character build, like what builds a good character, and also just maybe get some recommendations for books that I may not have thought about reading myself simply because I didn't know about them, and try to kind of branch out of my reading habit, which is very kind of UK, Western Europe based, and would love to read something from other cultures. So yeah, I think that's probably what I would be asking them about. What is it about a book that makes it a favorite book? Question 7 is, what challenges do you think starting a Booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Well, I think, as with probably everybody who is creating something for YouTube or in general, is consistency. I do have a busy life, busy job, and I do have another YouTube channel where I'm talking about parts of my my life in academia. So I do have some big kind of time constraints. So that's kind of my biggest challenge, is to be consistent on this channel. But I'm just gonna start slowly. I'm going to upload 3 videos now in a very kind of quick succession, simply because I'm starting this channel on the 24th of January, and it's a little bit, and I wanna put this video up as well as my kind of 2024 reading goals, and then like January recap of what I read in January. So in the next week or so, I will be uploading 3 videos, but generally I'm just gonna start super slowly with 1 video a month, just telling you what I read in the month, and then hopefully as I kind of build momentum, I might start to do book reviews or like author reviews, or not reviews necessarily. I don't necessarily know that I'm qualified to give a proper book review, but I can just at least tell you how I liked it and what it was that I liked or didn't like. Talk about some series that I've read, or like authors that I've read the complete works of, and maybe some reading vlog, who knows. But yeah, so we'll just see how the channel evolves. But I just want it to happen a little bit organically. I'm just doing this for fun and as a hobby, not like for anything else. So we'll just see what happens. But mostly I think, I think also another challenge is going to be kind of just insecurities, like starting to feel that like, oh, nobody's gonna want to watch my videos, nobody, like I'm so uninteresting, nobody cares, that type of feeling or thinking that you sometimes have, these personal insecurities. But that's something that I will just work through and get over for sure. But yeah, I think that for the most part I will just focus on talking about what I read and what I thought about what I read. But we'll see how it all evolves. Question 8 talks about, when did you start reading? And I feel that I kind of accidentally answered this question, I think, in the first question, which is like, or the second question, which is like, what got you into, why do you love reading? What got you into reading? But I mean, I started to read just when I was 6, like most people. And I read quite a lot as a child and teenager. I come from a reading family. There were a lot of books in my family, either that we owned or that we got from the library. I spent a lot of time in the library. And yeah, so I just read quite a lot as a child. And as I said, kind of since 2018, I just dove straight into, or like developed this obsession with reading, and that has stuck with me since. So read quite a lot as a child, and then again as I came into my 40s, I really found the love and the joy of reading again. Question 9, where do you read? Well, it does depend on whether it's a physical book or an audiobook. If I have a physical book, I like to read on my couch. I'm not a bed reader. I have a couch that's quite comfortable, and I like to read there, usually with a cat on my lap, as well as my book. And I really enjoy making my reading sessions really cozy and quiet and calm. Quite often I will put on like a fireplace video from YouTube on the TV, light lots of candles, and put on like maybe even a scented candle, and just like really kind of slow everything down. I really love to do that when I'm reading physical books, and I often also do that when I'm listening to audiobooks. Maybe I'm doing a puzzle as well as I'm having all the cozy atmosphere, listening to the audiobook and doing a puzzle, or might even just be playing, solitaire or something, mahjong, something on my phone or my tablet. But yeah, I really enjoy this kind of just kind of romanticizing the act of reading and just being calm, because I'm really trying to kind of slow down my life a little bit, because it's very stressful sometimes, and just kind of keeping myself healthy and away from like burnout and stuff like that. So making these really cozy little evenings when I'm reading is just so nice. But also, like I said before, I do also listen a lot to audiobooks when I'm doing stuff like cleaning or exercising or going to work, like transiting between work and home and stuff like that. So it is does differ a little bit depending on what type of book it is. So what kind of book do you like to read is question 10. My all-time favorite books to read are crime or thrillers, like crime thrillers with like murder or murders and some uninteresting detective of some sort that is investigating. And there are quite a broad range of thrillers that I like to read. Like I like to read these kind of Nordic noir, thrillers. I love Agatha Christie, kind of whodunit type of. I don't know if they're technically thrillers, but definitely like mysteries, murder mysteries. But I also like just like these really violent serial killer books. So I really crime and someone trying to solve the crime is definitely something that I find interesting. I also like to read just really good quality literary fiction and historical novels, like classics. So I like to read historical novels, both like the classics that were actually written in the olden times, but also newer books that are written like today, but take place in the olden times. So at least if it's well done. Sometimes I find that modern books that are like by modern authors who take place back in the day, they are always like keeping their modern like sensibilities and kind of what we today think is correct, instead of making like the character back in the 18th century doesn't think like we do. Anyway, so sometimes that it doesn't always work well for authors to do that, but some of them are quite good and well done. But yeah, so these would probably be my favorite type of genres, like thrillers and historical novels. I feel like those are kind of my top thrillers. But I also like fantasy, and I'm not really. Yeah, I like fantasy, high fantasy, like Lord of the Rings. I have them here behind me, and The Hobbit. Those are like my favorite, top tier favorite fantasy books ever. But I also like a different type of fantasies, and a sci-fi even. I mean, I don't like every sci-fi, but some of them. But I definitely do not like, I'm not a big fan of romance. Well, it does depend heavily on what type of a romance. But this type of romance where this woman is so sad and wears glasses and frumpy clothes, and then she meets someone nice guy, and then all of a sudden she doesn't need glasses and she's like fashionable and beautiful because someone loves her. Oh, it just makes me throw up. Those type of romance books I don't like. But if there is like if the romance plot isn't necessarily the main plot, or at least if the other plots are strong as well, like I like that. So I can definitely I like for example Jane Austen's books. I have all of her books. I've read all of them several times, and those are obviously romance, I suppose, but it's more practical. Like you have to get married or you're gonna starve. You know, it's not necessarily about happily ever after. Yeah. So, and there are definitely some romance books that I've read that I've enjoyed, especially if the setting is somewhere that I'm interested. Like if the setting is in London, or the setting is like in some city where I've lived or visited, or in some fun time period. But in generally, I'm not a huge fan. Yeah, I'm kind of a bit of a cynic, I suppose. And then the last question is a little bit of an extra question. It is question 11. Question 11. What does your book collection look like? So you can see a little bit here behind me, but I do not have all that many physical copies. I think in total, like with all of my books, is about 150, and then I have probably 50 academic books, so maybe around 200 books in total. And those are like novels, poetry, plays, and non-fiction of various kind. Yeah, but I don't know, maybe 1/3 might be a fiction, probably even less. I have a lot of non-fiction books, so maybe 1/4 or something like that. And so there are definitely a few reasons for why I don't have a huge collection of books. One of them is that I've moved quite a lot in my life, and I would always declutter books. And as a child and a young teenager and a young person, I used the library, a lot. I didn't really buy books a lot. And today I mostly listen to audiobooks. So yeah, I think those are basically the library and audiobooks, and my constant moving around in my 20s and 30s type of lifestyle didn't really allow me to collect a lot of books. But those, yes, and I think also I live in Iceland. Books are very expensive here, and it's very expensive to order books from like the more affordable booksellers like Amazon, because you have to pay like customs and taxes and whatever. It's very expensive to do a lot of that, at least. So yeah, so those are kind of the main reasons for why I don't have a lot of books. My dream is to have just like a huge wall of books, and that's something that I'm going to achieve at some point. But at the moment, I'm just using the library and listening to audiobooks. What I do actually do when I'm listening to an audiobook, if it really captivates me, and I'm like, this is a 5-star book, I'll write it down I have a document of books that I would like to buy, because I would really like to have the copy of, like the hard copy of my favorite books. So yeah, I would love to collect more books for sure, but I don't have a lot of them at the moment. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it wasn't just me talking way too fast. I love to talk, so I'm very good at talking quite a lot. It was really fun to answer these questions and really reflect on them. So I was thinking about them and like deciding like what the answer was, of figuring out the answer. And I hope you enjoyed it as well and maybe found it somewhat interesting. Anyway, I would love to really just introduce yourselves in the comments. I would really love to hear from you and connect with other book lovers. And I just really hope that I will see you in my next video. Let's keep reading.